Good evening all. From GHGKQ. Welcome to the BATC Thursday Evening Net. Let's have Mike G0MJW on first, please. And then it'll be Richard GI4DOH, and I'll then put the rest of the list together. And I see you on the list there, Nigel. And Russ as well, and Jim, no. I see broken SMA socket. Okay, announcements for this week. Don't forget, of course, the EMF assessment is almost upon us. There'll be some guidance coming out in the next couple of days on QO100, but basically, as long as you don't stand in front of the dish or let anybody else stand in front of the dish or too close to the feed, there is no major problem. So we'll get some good guidance out there. And don't forget to start planning for the Christmas activity contest. Be good to see lots of activity on over Christmas. Details were in CQTV. Right, without further ado, round to Mike, G0MJW, and the net, G8GKQ.
G0MJW with the group GI4DOH, getting the volume down before I distract myself. Yes, evening all, and Mike, yes, I did guess that you had one or two winter hills there. I just happened to catch a glimpse of Brian's signal there with that. So, not really prepared for this. Hadn't psyched myself up. Looking at what's in front of me. I have my my little kits, QRP kit, a 10 watt, 10 meter amplifier. Now that I've got the converter and everything else, that is nearing completion. But I've had a sister staying with me since Sunday, so unfortunately not much radio was done. But that's sort of family commitments met. So the next thing is I'm probably just 2 or 3 days away for getting on 10 meters. I don't know if there is actually anybody on 10 meters on a regular basis, where I would look for them, what symbol rate I should consider, or is it all done by previous SCED or whatever. We're not going to get much NVIS on 10 meters of the current state of the sunspot cycle, and I think the mainland UK is probably a bit close for sporadic E, certainly on 6 meters it is. So yeah, almost ready for that and plodding on with other things. We've talked a little bit recently about 3D printers and milling machines, particularly with Roger and all the rest. I had an interesting experience today with the dentist, where he took a crown off one of my teeth and promptly milled another one for it on the spot and stuck it in. And I probably could have bought a milling machine suitable for amateur radio purposes for what he charged me for it. But how the technology has moved on and the rest, sort of painful financially, but sort of interesting sort of to know the technology that's out there. So that's probably enough waffling for me for this round. To see if I can find something to show next time. I'll pass it round to you, Russ, G4SAQ with the group.
Okay, this is G4SAQ. Just muting my audio now so that I don't interrupt myself. Yeah, okay, well, sorry to hear about the visit to the dentist, Nigel. It sounds quite amazing that that your dentist made you a new tooth there and then in the surgery. I don't have an awful lot to tell everyone this evening. I started trying to construct a box to go on my outside wall underneath the dish in order to hold my power supply, mains power supply, and the power amplifier. I've made quite a bit of progress with it, and it's a little while since I did any carpentry actually, so it's taken a while to get my head around it all. But it's coming together nicely, and I'd like to think by next week it'll be up and ready, because it's an awful drag at the moment going outside and setting everything up on a trestle and covering it over with a tarpaulin to keep the damp off it. What am I? Oh, this evening I'm using VLC to get the audio from Minitune as a result of advice I received last week. And that seems to be much better. I'm not getting the breakup that I was getting on the audio direct from Minitune. However, I seem to have another problem with that. When I'm trying to use VLC, the video stream freezes from time to time. Notably, every time a new station comes up, and I have to reset the network stream and video in VLC, which is rather annoying. So at the moment, I'm watching everything on Minitune and listening on VLC, and that seems to be working at the moment. The only other thing to mention is a nice trip I had down to Salcombe. We went down on Saturday actually and stayed in Exmouth for a night. Then we went down to Salcombe and joined some friends. One of our close friends, his wife died almost a year ago, and he upped sticks and moved down there. So a whole group of us went down there and stayed in a hotel and spent some time with him over the weekend, which was very pleasant. And my wife and I came back via Lyme Regis and stayed in a hotel which I can only describe as interesting. slightly slightly less than adequate, I think, but there we are. We survived. Okay, enough waffling. It's round to Nigel, 2 Echo Zero, Echo Hotel Hotel, I believe. So let me see if I can put it over now without making too much of a mess up.
E0 EHH and the BATC Net. Good evening and welcome to everybody. I'm turning the sound off. I'm just hoping I've got it sound because I'm still struggling with mini tuner. But what's been happening this week? Well, I got some units built from our good friend Jim, G7 and GT. So he's got, I can't see it, don't know if I'm getting it right. We've got the Winter Hill and the Nooker Ryde DBT receiver. Not all sure what I'm going to do with them. Well, I'm going to learn how to use them, but I'm wanting some help because I've read through the books and I read it and it don't, some of it sinks in, and other times it doesn't. So I need, if someone's got the time to do step-by-step instructions. I've got the I had the Winter Hill working, but it's that it was picking up the beacon, but it wasn't showing it. So I don't know if I've got to do something else. But I'm not receiving these, so I don't know if I'm transmitting because I'm on the beacon, so I presume one presumes I'm okay. Anyway, let's wait for the first round because I can see myself on there. Silly me. That took a while to come on. But yes, let's see if you can see. I'm not sure now I can see myself. Shaky cam. Well, there's my setup. There's that to the left is my port stand for transceiver, and the two boxes on the right. The blue one is the Nooker and Ryde DATV receiver, and the top one's Winter Hill. I say I need help to get the software going. I've just done an update. Shaky cam. I'll have to get better. I'll have to get OBS working, and I can do all the software and switching cams when they. But yes, I just need help setting Winter Hill up. VLC. It's one of two problems, but it's too long to reel them out now. But we're getting there slowly. So I'll hand it over to Martin. This is 2E0. Going back to standby and hand it over to Martin. G4 FKK and BATC Net. Martin, you have the microphone and camera. Martin, you have the microphone and camera.
Yeah, let's hope so, Nigel. G4FKK. The shack is in even more chaos than usual this evening. Have we got any sound? Oh yes, there we are. Look at that, lovely. Yes, evening all, and some cracking pictures on tonight. Russ, your picture was great, and your picture's very clear, Nigel. well, as is everyone else's really. I think my camera, as someone pointed out before, is focusing on something other than me. Not that I blame it for doing that. I like the 5-inch box there, Mike. That looks very nice. And that amplifier is very small, isn't it, Richard? Your 10-watt, 10-meter job. And yeah, it'd be good if you could get your own design files. Design files for filing your own teeth. That'd be great. And as you say, Richard, it probably cost the same amount as a CNC machine to get that done. Still, you got it done on the spot, and presumably went out with a beaming smile. Russ, yeah, I think VLC quite often does freeze. Particularly, I mean, it works okay if someone's running exactly the same format as the previous person, but we're all jumping between H.264 and H.265. Winter Hill manages it somehow. I don't know how it does it, but so there we go. And yes, Solcombe, lovely. I love Solcombe. Nigel, the Winter Hill and Knucker, well done, Jim, for getting that going, and for Jim. And the Winter Hill, it's quite easy to drive when you know how, but that's like anything, isn't it? There's various ways of running it, but as you say, it's probably a bit long-winded for this evening. But Jim's just saying he hasn't got a clue how to drive it either. Well, maybe we should catch. I don't know when you're around during the week, Nigel, but I've got a Winter Hill here, and I know. Well, I think quite a few people on the net have. So, what have I been up to? Well, I have done a bit of TV this week. Let's see if I can get the shaky cam going, or as I'm calling it, the unsteady cam. Well, let me just make sure it's got sound on it. Yes, it has. So here's my 5-inch screen. We've all been buying miniature screens. Well, we say we all, some of us have. So there's my 5-inch screen. It's got a Raspberry Pi screwed to the back of it, and one of Mike's boards screwed to the back of that, which has got a fan on, and you can bring out the GPIO. You'll see the high-tech way I've fitted the infrared detector and the valid LED, so not very technical. But on a bit of a tangent on that, Mike, you said on one of your emails that you were thinking perhaps you need to press the buttons on the touch screen a bit harder. I think what's happening, because I thought that at first, but I think what's happening is that every once in a while, it's about every 20 seconds as far as I can tell, the touch screen loses its touchability. So you're sort of pressing the button, that's not working, and then all of a sudden it comes back on again. I think there's something in the Pi's firmware that polls LCDs and touchscreens, and on the Ryde it's easy. You can just tell it not to do that, but obviously you can't tell it not to. You can't tell it to ignore the touchscreen when you're running ports down or what? A Langstone, that was it. Right, anything else? Limp sync on walkies, Martin. Yeah, I'm not surprised actually. It's Anyway, well, I'll try and sync that up later. Yesterday's audio and tomorrow's video. Okay, I'll try and address that during the rest of it. Okay, so I'll, without more ado, put it round to Gareth, and hopefully you'll be in sync, Gareth. G4XAT, G4FKK.
Right, I'm not bothering with a test card today. Evening all, G4XAT, thank you Martin. To the BATC Net and any other watchers. I was busy driving back from my son at Warwick last Thursday, so I didn't show, but I've been busy with some radio stuff. So here we go. First up, this is a 10 meter amp using the NXP development board. I'm just waiting on the output capacitors and deciding on a heatsink and stuff. What puzzles me, those of you who are also building one, is why on earth it's got 27 nanofarad for the output capacitor. Yeah, I mean, I know it's got a low reactance at 28 meg, but it doesn't seem to match with other HF amplifiers, so I'd be fascinated if anyone can tell me why. And I presume the 33, the 151 and the 90 are output filtering, since the two 141s are the drain choke. That's my surmising anyway. Okay, enough of that one. Next picture please. Okay, this is the modified 70 SEMS notch filter that I'm trying to turn into a bandpass. I took your advice, Mike, and I wound the coil with silver plated copper 16 gauge and then trimmed it a bit and tweaked it a bit, and the good news is it's got about a 750 kilohertz pass band. You can't see that there, but I have had a close look at it, and about a 3 or 4 dB loss without any tweaking. So I'm quite pleased with that. It certainly kept the rubbish out of the front end of a mini tuner or whatever. I mean, look at that. It's nearly 30 dB of rejection at 20 meg out, I think. Okay, enough of that. I also have been playing with the 5-inch touchscreen. This is my rendition of the screen mount. These are for somebody else actually, because I don't want a back box on mine. Next slide please. Right, that's the new coil showing the bits of the filter that I've hacked about. So I'm pleased with that. It takes a bit of squashing and trimming and so on. There's about 14 turns there for information. Right, no gladioli, but I've got this cactus. It's a 30+ year old cactus grown from seed. We planted a whole packet of them, the wife and I, when we first met, and just one, well, several grew actually, but this one carried on growing, and it gets moved out to the greenhouse every so often in the summer and spends the winter indoors prickling things. That's the rear screen mount for my 5-inch. The little chunky bit in the middle holds the screen into the back, and the sidebar that screws to holds the screen in through the front panel. I think that makes sense. Rob, you'll recognise that because that's your picture. I've modified my Dolphin amps in the same way. I've removed that parallel track down there on all 3 of the amps, but I think I'm going to leave them in there for the time being, since it's a bit of a job to get them out without major destructive actions, I suspect. Saffron, that's my saffron. Hasn't flowered yet, but I hope it will. Genuine Sardinian saffron. And that's the back of my screen. Yes, you've all seen one of those. That's the front prototype. This is an interesting little thing. It came from my club's junk sale a fortnight ago. It had a couple of SMAs on it, so I thought, well, I'll pay £1 for that. These old devices are spec'd for 1.5 gig, but they've got NAF all power and NAF all gain. However, it has got on the output side a couple of 22 PF ATC capacitors, which will do very nicely for the W6PQL 24 SEMS amp that I'm hoping to build. And I also want to build that, but I better stop waffling and let someone else have a go. So at this point I will stick up a test card, and when I see it I'll hand it over to
that working? That's working. Yeah, right. You've got audio. Well, I haven't been doing much. This week. I was going to produce a load of slides from my. Mind you, I only worked for the BBC for about 6 months, but I didn't get around to that because I bought myself one of these little drone things. It's less than 250 grams, which means, whoops, seems the power's gone up a bit. I'll just adjust the power level. Hold on, folks. It's less than 250 grams, which means you can fly it in residential areas. So that's what I've been doing. If I can find OBS, I'll give you a little video of my first flight, and you'll see at the end why it's a bit jerky, because it was a bit windy, and also where it took off from wasn't the best place to fly a drone from. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to use it for. I've taken some pictures of the village at maximum height, because I guess you're all experts and you know that you can't fly over 120 meters or 400 feet. So I took it up to 100 meters and took a picture of the village, but I don't have that loaded on the computer at the moment. So let's just roll VT, as they say. There's no audio on this, but I don't know whether I can give you a commentary or not. Right, this is pointing out to sea, and as you can see, I've got rather a lot of trees in my back garden, so it was a bit difficult to land it without hitting anything, because the drone doesn't have collision avoidance. Well, that's about all I've been doing. So, I was going to make one comment, Dave. If you direct any comments at me, please make them at the end of your over, because what normally happens is that you cause my mini tuner software to crash, and I have to restart it. It always happens, which is unfortunate, but can't be helped, I suppose. I really ought to use VLC rather than mini tuner. Right, it's James next. That's G0DQH. I wrote it down. Aren't I a good TV operator? So,
G0DQH. GHEKQ. Kill that. Yeah, sorry, James, there was no, as you said, there was no audio there, and we only had your test card. That was all. I think I've just knocked the camera, excuse me a minute, just turn that way slightly and get rid of that light. That will improve matters, I hope. The drone footage there was stunning, Charles. Looked really good. Clearly your transmission encoder had problems with the detail in the 4K image when you got down in the trees, but it looked really stable up in the air. And impressive what you can do with less than 250 grams. Words for M0LCR, who's been complaining about blockiness with his ports down. The picture with just a Raspberry Pi cam at 333 on a ports down isn't brilliant. You probably need to compare it more to old analog 625 line PAL rather than the pictures you're seeing today, which are, I mean, this is 720p coming from a high-end webcam and fed into a reasonably beefy laptop to do the H.265 encoding. So it's a bit chalk and cheese, really, on that. But the pictures shouldn't be blocky when they're stationary. If you've just got a moving head sort of on the picture, it shouldn't look too bad. 5-inch screens, yes, I'm looking at getting one, and we'll start to address how we support them properly and what they can do in due course. Russ, really good to see you. A lovely picture from you. And yeah, an outside box makes so much difference. Having done a fair bit of kit outside, covered in tarpaulins in the early days. Nigel, yeah, Winter Hill is quite tricky to drive. I must admit I'm out of touch with that now, although I have got one made. But get somebody who uses it to talk you through it. I think that's the best idea. Now, what have I been up to? Two things. First is that those who watch the Tuesday night HV Net will have seen this. This is my let's get that right, 3.4 gig transverter. It's based on an airspan unit, which is in the centre there. And the main work this week has been on, is it this end? Well, at that end I've mounted the coax relay, which is the black blob. And over at this end, that's all the 437 meg switching for the IF input. So on the front panel, the idea is that the 790 goes in there for doing voice contacts, mini tuner in there, and ports down for transmit in there. That's the idea. And this knob here winds up the gain till the meter's in the middle of the scale, and then you've got the right amount of gain. So that's the idea. But it's taken a bit of a back seat because I've got snagged by my favourite graph paper. I meant to show you this picture last week, which is a strong signal seen on 77s. That's G8LES during the activity weekend. As you can see, a fantastic signal, about 40 dB above what is required. So let's get rid of that one, and I will show you another one. And this is a taster of things to come. Again, my favourite graph paper. This is a new thing for the ports down, using the Lime SDR as a signal source, and using the power meter unit that was described in the last CQTV as a receiver. And so you can set it to sweep any signal range, any frequency range, essentially between 30 megs and 3.4 gigs, and see what the filter is. It's not as good as it looks because it's quite slow. Yeah, I have made a bit of progress, Noel. It's not as good as it looks, because that sweep takes about 5 seconds. But I can get the sweep speed down to about half a second if you accept less data points. So it's good for characterizing filters once you've done them. There's more work to do on that, and it may well have different signal sources that are quicker. Actually, the speed problem is due to changing frequency on the Lime SDR. Mike, the reason I don't use the Lime SDR receive port is mainly dynamic range. The other reason is I haven't coded it yet. I probably could do, but that's another couple of days' work. It was just very easy to use the power meter. I do have a genuine 70 dB of dynamic range there, and I don't think I would get that out of the Lime SDR. Anyway, so that's what I've been up to, but that's too much waffle from me. Let's go back to a picture. And we'll put it back round to Mike. James, if you do sort out your audio, come back up on the chat and we'll let you in. But round to Mike, G0MJW and the net. Oh yeah, one thing before I go, I think G4BAO might be watching. I hope he is. G0MJW and the net, G8GKQ.
Okay, well, if G4BAO is watching, I better be careful. You never know what might happen. Get into the argument shop again. Anyway, hi, hi everyone again. Really interesting net this time. Lots of activity. That's good. Like your 10 watt PA, Richard. I've built one of the 300 watt PAs like Gareth has built, and I'll have to explain to Gareth how to make it work. Of course, it might work first time for you, but it didn't for me. So we'll see how you go, but it involved bending up one of the inductors to get it to give the full power output. And with that done, it did work. Yes, I saw that, Noel. It was quite funny. It got me into trouble as well, but I ducked out of it. In fact, I looked and saw there was a large number of comments on Twitter. For those who don't know what was happening, John said something, Noel said something, I replied to something, and there was all sorts of storm going on. Right, Martin, your 5-inch screen looks good now. Sorry about my comment on the lip sync. It wasn't really as bad as that. It was more like a sort of a 1970s kung fu film sort of lip sync problem. So that gives you an idea. And the drone video footage, Charles, was absolutely amazing for a 250 gram drone. I would have thought it wouldn't be able to stay up more than 30 seconds, so to be limited to 400 feet wouldn't be a problem, but obviously they've moved on a lot, and they're not all that expensive either, from what you were saying, so that's good. Not sure when Black Friday is, but yeah, I should watch that. I think I might be a bit weak, so I better turn the power up a little bit. Sorry about that, Tim. I noticed you were commenting. I'm using 3/4 coding, so I probably need to increase it. And it wasn't dish shaming, it was just saying you want to use a bigger dish because you've got one. For G4BAO, because I know he has one. If you use a smaller dish, you're going to transmit 2.4 gigahertz at higher power in more directions and cause more interference potentially. So there's always justification for using less power in a higher gain antenna if you can. Yeah, Nigel, your video and audio is excellent now, and interesting to see the various bits of your shack as you pan the camera around and the various bits of equipment you've got. Very colourful keyboard there that you had, and also good to see some good pictures from Russ. So all very nice. I'm just going to go over to right. Okay, so this is the actually I think I've got these mixed up because that's bench cam, which is actually not the bench camera, and then we've got the bench cam original. So that is the bench cam. So yeah, no, I have got that right. But if I go to Polycom, which I haven't put a caption on yet, and I'm going to have to get my trademark registered pretty quickly by the look of things with shaky cams and what was it, non-steady cams or unsteady cam? That's quite a good one as well, Martin. You can see it's picking up my picture now. Next to it is the Ryde using a standard sort of HDMI screen. So that's what I'm just using there. Right, round to Richard again. So a GI4DOH. Put my picture on so you can see me. GI4DOH, over to you. G0MJW.
Up. G0MJW with the group GI4DOH. Pressing the right buttons and getting rid of the sound there. Yeah, finding all that, Mike, and yes, I meant to comment on the 5-inch display. Looks very, very neat and tidy, and that, funny enough, I was using the original Portstein the other day with the Portstein 4, and the little screen on that looks so twee compared with the 7-inch screen and everything that's on it. Yeah, the little amp there is actually broadband, and it's all down to whatever low pass filters you have on it. Right, it's not going to focus for me, but that is QRP Labs 10-meter low pass filter. I do have one of these units. Is playing around with sort of intermediate amplifiers for getting a KX3 suitable for bigger amp. and indeed that's one of the larger things. So I don't know, that might be commandeered for DATV at some stage. And Dave, yeah, just interesting seeing all the things that you can do with the Portstein 4 and testing filters, something that arrived in the post this week. With my sister staying here, I didn't get a chance to do anything with it. That's a hairpin filter for 2.4 gigahertz, all the way from China. Price that really I couldn't ignore the buy button. And I also got this described as an EMC preamplifier, but it is a PGA 103 plus in it, and put me, it's QC passed and everything. What more can you ask for? It's got a box and SMAs on it, and I will try it out at some stage and find out just what the bandwidth of it is. I thought, well, you know, it's better than having just a bare PCB kicking around. You know, it's probably going to live longer than that. What else have we got there? Rob, M0DTS, you were commenting on pointing the dish at the moon. I'm sort of looking at that sort of thing, and at 10 to 8 tonight, the moon was actually shining exactly down the side of the house. I was actually nipping out every 5 minutes to find out at what point it was doing that, and I've still got this solid state power amplifier. It's supposed to go up to 20 watts or something like that. I've got a big heat sink. Again, during the week I haven't had time to look at, other than it should do the job. And also procured a smaller 10 gigahertz amplifier, which will do to as a go between with that. So I'm looking at the idea of taking the harmonic out of the Pluto for DATV, but there are other modes that I might want to use with that. And the moon is potentially sometime down the line, and indeed the lovely SPID rotating the elevation and azimuth things, rotators, even the high definition ones. If I hadn't gone to the dentist today, I could have bought one of those, maybe some other time. So what else is there? And Charles, I'm keeping away from drones. I know if I start that, it won't be the start of a run of I'll buy something entry level and then I'll have to upgrade and all the rest, and there's no point in putting temptation in front of myself. And Mike, what you were saying about not being sure when Black Friday was, I got a sort of spam type email today telling me about Black Week, so it's not just a day, it's a whole week somebody's planning. So that's enough from me. I'll pass it on round to Russ again. Wish you all good night, and hope to see you all next week. I'll try not to cut myself off here. Round to you, Russ. G4SAQ with the BATC group. This is GI4DOH.
Oh, that's good. I can see myself. GI4DOH. This is G4SAQ, and I've just managed to mute my audio. I'm going to have to find a way of doing this automatically because it drives me crazy. Okay, well, thanks for the comments about the pictures, everyone. It's nice to know that it's all working well. I did invest in a Logitech camera. C920, I think a lot of people use them. It was very good value, and yeah, it does seem to work. You have been busy. That 3.4 gig transverter looks a nice piece of work, and I suppose I'm going to have to get busy building something electronic again once I've finished this this box for outside. I'd much rather be doing that than carpentry. Far more interesting, I think. And your Portstein suite looks tremendous. What a useful up great. Richard, you say that looked quite nice. And of course, I got a comment on his drone. Really, Charles. My garage, I've still got a 0.8cc diesel engine for an aeroplane that I was building with my son when he was a boy, and I think he's 36 now. So it really was a long time ago. But I start it up every now and again just for the hell of it, and it winds up the neighbour's dog, of course, which isn't a bad thing. It really is incredibly noisy and inconvenient to use that. So these modern electric drones are so much more of an improvement, and maybe it's something to do with grandchildren when they get a bit older, rather than bringing this diesel engine into use. Okay, well look, I don't have an awful lot more to add. I shall be waffling for the sake of it. So I'm going to put it round to Nigel 2 Echo 0 Echo Hotel Hotel, and I'll bring up my test card if I can to make sure that I get the transition right. Okay, over to you then, Nigel.
.2E0 EHH and the BATC Net. So, mini tune is not picking me up, but anyway, I can presume I'm transmitting. I'm going to have to get this mini tuner sorted out or whatever. Yeah, Martin, you said you during the day, any time, because I'm retired, so you know. My email is nigelreeve@nclworld.com. Drop me an email, and we can arrange a time if you got the patience. And the times help me. I'd be glad to take up on that. And we'll say my email address is nigelreeve@nclworld.com. Thanks for your comments about the pictures. Yeah, I've seemed to have mastered. Well, it's C920 I'm using, so that's probably why I'm getting good audio. It's self-putting because I can't see myself. But anyway, I'll pass it over to Martin shortly. Because I say I've got a lot to say. Nothing else to say. Just to wish everybody a pleasant weekend, and look forward to speaking to you and seeing you next Thursday. So this is G. This is 30EHH, and in the microphone and camera over to Martin G4FKK. Take it away there, Martin. Thank you. Good blessing.
Right. Maybe I'll just leave the test card up. You won't see the lip sync issue. I don't think I've fixed it, to be honest. So, right, okay. Yeah, thanks, Jim. I wrote it down right. So, yeah, I'll drop you a line, Nigel, and we'll set up some time. It's probably worth allocating a bit of time because it is a bit. It's not confusing. It's actually very reasonably intuitive once you know what you're trying to do. So we'll have a discussion about that, and then I'll tell you how I think you can do it. Hopefully you'll want to do it the same way as I have, because that'll be much easier. Keith, very good evening to you. I saw some pictures from you, Keith, the other day, GU6EFB, and I hope you're feeling better. And I know Gareth has managed to get HDMI, the other HDMI output working on his ports down. So you never know. Right. Let me quickly whisk through the notes. I'll try and make it quick because I see John JTT is ready. All right, okay, Dave, I'll put it round to John next. And I think James DQH has got his audio going, so maybe after John, Jim could come on, don't know. Yeah, that looks very nice, the 10 metre amp Gareth. Well, 27 nanofarad, I suppose it's slightly odd value. I tend to use 0.01s above about 10 megs and 0.1s below. That's on HF, not on all this UHF stuff. The 30-year-old cactus looks good. My mum has still got my old house, well, her actual house, an orange that my dad and I planted when I was 5. So that's getting on for years old. Charles, that drone footage was brilliant. I'm definitely going to tell my wife that's what I want for Christmas. That doesn't mean I'll get one, of course. And I thought the navigation looked a bit close to the trees, so that was a good bit of navigation, Charles. That looked fairly perilous. Transverse looks good, Dave, and the sweeper display, very useful. I'll show you something about that in a minute. How's my Kung Fu audio, Mike? Yeah, the picture looked great, Keith, by the way. Setting up of jumpers and he's doing... Oh, you've done the full thing, have you, Jim, with the power supplies and everything? Right, well, I'll read the manual before I go through that. Richard, yeah, I was going to say, that looks like a QRP Labs low-pass filter. They're really good. I've got those dotted all over the place in various bits of kit. I wonder if you've tested that hairpin filter, whether you've given it a squeak, see if it works okay. Look like it's on ordinary fiberglass board. And Russ, yeah, well, grandchildren. I'm looking forward to that because they're a great excuse for buying all sorts of toys, aren't they? We had my great niece round this afternoon, but she's still a bit too little to be interested in the sort of things I think she should be interested in. Okay, there's just a quick one here, Dave. You might be interested in this. This is my famous or infamous signal generator. I think I showed this last week, didn't I, the signal generator? But if I press function, and I've got two functions here. One is a beacon over there, and one is a wobulator. And I program that in to line up old valve radios that I've got a big collection of. If I go onto 4 meters, don't know if you'll hear this. Let's start it wobbling. Hang on. So there you go. That's the wobulator wobbling. While I was testing that earlier, Mike, I noticed it's the 4 meter contest this evening. So might have a quick bash on that in a minute. Well, when we finished here. Right, let's put that back there. Let's put it straight round to John then. G7JTT. I wonder how long you've been working today. Oh, hang on. Martin, I can let you know how I set up the input jumpers email. Okay. The big clunk. I'll do that, Jim. What else was there? Mike might not tested it last for the weekend. Okay. So I'm still out of sync, am I? I thought I'd fix that with John's discovery. Right, John, you can tell me what I've done wrong. G7JTT to take it, and if I don't come back, good evening all. This is G4FKK saying cheerio.
Right. Yeah. To find the turn it off. Right, there we go. So this is Paul Nicholson, and that white sort of streak you can see there, that's actually the signal from Canada, and that's pretty good going, really. I don't know what the setup is. Um, into audio spectrum analyzer sort of thing, like this spectrum thing at the moment.
Testing the audio. It works. I'm using the microphone on the webcam at the moment, and that seems to be working all right. For some reason, the microphone plugged into the PC, and my microphone in front of my face here has decided not to work. And I'm not quite sure why, but anyway. Good evening to Hannah, if you are watching tonight. I may be in touch with some more LPs from you, I don't know, at some time. I've completed the work on the 290. You know what a 290 looks like, but I'll bring it up anyway. On the webcam. And it's working really well. I was lucky to find this one. It was in almost mint condition, and but it did have one or two faults. I've got a node about a quarter of a mile away from me, and it's extremely strong. Even with the antenna down, it comes in really strongly, but not on at the moment. And yet during the day it's non-stop. But it's all operational. I've replaced, put new DX in, nickel cadmium batteries, and I actually bought 10, and he sent me 16, and I told him about it 4 times by email, and he said, "Oh, don't worry about it. Keep the other ones." And I've got 2 sets for 2 radios, and I do have another 290 as well for spares, but I'd be reluctant to put them in because that one's a bit bashed, and I'll keep that one for spares. The major fault on the 290 was caps. It was way off tune as well, and hence the reason for the bad audio on receive, and also this problem with the meter. So they recommend a 1 meg resistor, and on another forum they mentioned going down as low as 47k. So I just happened to have a 47k surface mount resistor, which fitted in nicely on the board. So that meter problem is sorted. It all works very well. I'm very pleased. I had one of these when I first became an amateur in 1983 or 4, I can't remember, somewhere around there, when I was G1 FDM in North Devon. And anyway, that one had the Mutec front end in, and it was a super radio, and I should never have sold it, but there you go. So I'll switch off there. Up to move. So there you go. That's really it from me. And Mo and I are going for a walk in the forest tomorrow. We're going to drive up to Acres Down, park up and walk up over the ridge. And there's a beautiful view of the whole of the forest from up there. And I'll take the 290 with me as well and see if I can get a contact or two. And it's right in the flight path of the airport, so occasionally we see aircraft lifting off up towards us. Super place to be in the summer, but we're going to dress up warm to be up there tomorrow. Anyway, that's enough from me. I'm waffling on. I've got to figure out why we've got no audio on the microphone. So, of course, I've taken that away. Let's go back to there. And the audio should have returned by now. Sorry about all the fans running in the background. I've got fans on the Chinese amplifiers to my right, and of course there's the fan in the Windows 7 PC, which is quite noisy as well. Anyway, it's enough from me. See you all next week, hopefully. And this is G0DQH. I'm located in Chandlersford, midway between Southampton and Winchester. So very good evening to everyone, and see you all next week. G0DQH.
Right, thank you, James. G0D DQH G4XAT. Back to the net. Right. The activity weekend we had on 70 was fascinating to watch, although I didn't actually get my signal seen or indeed see anybody's. So I got thinking I need more power, which led to looking up ways of combining amplifiers. Because it just so happens I have a pair of Nokia Dolphins which will just about do 70 watts each when looking the other way. So I weighed up building one of the W6PQL 70 SEMS amps, and thought, having emailed him, that I'd get similar power out of the pair of Dolphins as I would out of one of his amps for DATV, and I'd be considerably in pocket and I could build things. So with that Wilkinson combiner in mind, I reached into my box of things that were coming useful here, and I've got a beautiful milled box with PTFE N-types on it, and that is going to have some 75 ohm coax, and once AliExpress deliver a 250 watt dump resistor fitted to the box. So that'll do for the TX end. The Pluto has got a surplus of drive for one Dolphin. I think I can drive it at minus 13 dB. So with the 3 dB passive splitter, I'll still have Pluto drive. And then at the far end, if I build another beam, which is one of the broadband Innovate antenna ones, that's another 3 dB, which will pretty much get me well, another 6 dB, I hope. That's the sort of thinking. Luminous green. No, I'm on BATC blue at the moment, Mike. Okay, fascinating on the drone, Charles. They are amazingly good, aren't they? I haven't got one, but many years ago one of my pupils demonstrated one that would fly home and do all sorts of clever things. It was good. I think things have tightened up a bit since then, after he nearly closed Gatwick. That was a joke, by the way. Okay, Dave, that looks wonderful. It'll save me switching on my spectrum analyzer. That the many things you can do with a Raspberry Pi and a few good bits. Yeah, okay. Well, each to their own, I'd say, Mike. Each to their own. Interesting, Rob, that you're listening on the moon with a 1 meter dish. I just wonder if you talk via the moon, and if so, how big's the dish and how much power did you need to run? Or on 10 gigs even, how much power do you need to run there? I've got a 1.4 offset, and when I was down the garden last night, I looked up and saw the said shiny moon and thought, oh, I could point at that. Needless to say, I've got a very nice worm drive gearbox lurking in the garage storage somewhere that I'd like to do that at some point. Okay, I think that's it from my list. Looking down, I think I've spoken about everything. Oh, finally, sorry, I waved one of these around a while back. This is a double MRF 300 HF amp, only it does 4 meters as well. I'll post a link to the test video. The only drawback is it uses expensive ferrites, expensive in this country and available from Enigma, but quite reasonably priced from RF parts in Italy, and they've now come up with a 15 quid shipment option instead of the 28 quid via DHL, who invariably rob you with all sorts of extra fees. So if those arrive, that's what one of the next projects is going to be. Okay, I've got a load of those boards if anybody wants one, by the way, but have a look at the video first, because I've not got a proper parts list. I've only got a one sheet diagram, so it's a bit of a wing and a prayer, and it might all go up in smoke. Okay, right, round to you, Charles. G4GUO to take it from someone who's remembered their test card, and 7-3s all. See you.
Right, thanks there, Gareth. Let's turn the audio, mute the audio. Now I know I'm getting out. Yeah, I didn't think there'd be so much interest in the drone, but because I assumed that everybody had already been there and done that, because I seem to be last in line as far as these things are concerned. I'll just get it. Here it is. The camera on the front's on a gimbal, and it's all computer controlled. And on the side is my. You won't be able to read this, but it's the drone ID. Cost me £9 a year from the CAA, so that they can prosecute me if I do something wrong. When you go in the app, you can set the maximum ceiling of the drone, and I think it's capable of 4 kilometers as the maximum height. I put it up to the highest height, and it came up with a warning saying that this exceeds the legal limit, blah blah blah. If DJI is not legally responsible if you get into trouble and all of that. So yeah, so I then cancelled it because I wasn't going to fly above 100 meters anyway. But the beginning of the expense, I was using the remote control earlier. Which actually uses a mobile phone to do the display. A little message came up saying that my phone didn't have enough CPU usage, so or it wasn't powerful enough. So I think I might be getting a new mobile phone next. Oh, the expense. Getting back to the TV side of things, the waveform, the 4K waveform is transmitted using COFDM, so it's a bit like a DVB-T signal. I don't think anybody's managed to hack it yet, but it's supposed to have a range of about 8 kilometers for the European version. The US version is 12 kilometers because it's got they're allowed more power, and the control link uses frequency hopping, either in the 2.4 or 5.8 gig band. It's a dual band system, and it looks to see where the interference is, and it selects the best band on the hop, so to speak. So it's the DJI's OcuSync protocol appears to be quite complicated or quite sophisticated, and it certainly exceeds the range, because obviously in the UK we're only allowed to fly visual line of sight, which limits it to about 300 meters. But it's all good fun. I do actually have a homebrew copter that I'm building, but that will be much heavier. And I was thinking of flying an SDR on that, or a direction finder or something. But to fly that, I'd have to do the Certificate of Competence course, which is 100 quid for the course with a 30 quid online exam. So I think I might just stick to the the small drone rather than going the whole hog. But all the regulations changed in January, so to come into line with the European regulations. So they're a bit more liberal than they were. But it's all changing again, I think, next year, because the drones are going to have C0, C1, C2 stickers on them to say what you can do with them. Whereas at the moment, it's that regime has not come in. But anyway, it's all good fun. But I haven't been doing anything on the radio side other than playing around with this. Right, I think it's Dave next, isn't it? That's all from me for next week. Hopefully next week I may get those pictures scanned in. It's a bit of a pain to get the scanner out because the cable's not quite long enough, and which means I have to reorganize things in the shack here. And yes, Noel's right. The drone, it's 31 minutes, and if you get the combo kit, you get 3 batteries, so that's 90 minutes of flying time. It was quite windy this morning. There's a guy that flies gliders down the road, proper gliders, and he's got a windsock, and that was almost at 90 degrees, so it was quite windy, and I could see the thing struggling a bit, but it still managed to get up there. I was a bit worried that it would fly away, but I've got insurance for that. If it flies away, they'll replace it for a reduced cost, and if it gets wet, they'll replace it up to twice a year. And if I don't claim on the insurance, I get another 3 years, up to 3 years of the insurance. So it's reasonably good value for money. But an idiot can fly this thing. I mean, it's GPS controlled. It hovers. It needs GPS to hover. It will hover without GPS, but when I did that inside the house, I managed to fly into the curtains because it suddenly became unstable, and I panicked and pressed the wrong lever. But outside, it's rock steady. The GPS system does well on that, and if you don't touch the controls, it just hovers. Press one, it goes up. The other one, it goes down. One, it yaws to the right. The other one, it yaws to the left. The other one, it flies forward or back, and then left or right. So I'm just getting used to the what button does what, so I don't have to think about it. Then I might be a bit more adventurous with it. I did look at flying it down the local river, but I recce'd it this afternoon. I saw there's trees all over the place, so I thought that's not such a good idea. Anyway, I'm waffling. Back over to you there, Dave, and thanks again for the net tonight, and I'll say goodnight to everybody.
G4GUO and the net, G8GKQ. Yeah, drone sounds very good there, Charles. I did fly fixed-wing radio-controlled aircraft in my youth with a bigger engine than even Russ was talking about. They were 2.5cc diesels on them. They would have... luckily, we didn't hit anything that damaged with them, but they did. They were certainly pretty heavy. Must have been about 1 kilo, I suppose. Paul M&J is working hard on GB3NQ. The Portsdown and Pluto solution seems to be coming together on that. He apologises for not joining us tonight because he's doing more work on the repeater. Painted stones. There are a few around outside houses here, John, but nothing. I think they get upset if people swapped them around or took them away. James, the FT290, I've emailed you the Mutec details for the installation. I think they're probably are ones I stole off the website that Noel sent you the link to. Some bad news came in during the week. Mike will clearly already know the Harwell Rally that normally takes place in February isn't taking place this year, which is a bit of a shame. That was usually the first one BATC supports during the year. 77s, yes, I've got one Dolphin which I use on 70, Gareth. Combining two, that would be fun. But powering it portable is a bit of a challenge because with the 28 volt requirement, I use would you believe I use a bank of 12 eBay up converters with a resistor load sharing. It works until one of them blows and then they start taking each other out. Martin, yes, the wobulator. Well, this thing wobbles around quite a lot. The lime, I hadn't noticed before, but when you try and change frequency that much on a lime, it doesn't turn its output off while it's changing frequency, so it's not something you can do anything else much with, but it seems to be fairly effective at changing frequency for a measurement instrument anyway. So anyway, there'll be more progress on that over the next couple of weeks, but it just seemed something that was crying out to be built. So I think that's all for tonight. Thank you very much to everybody for joining us. It's been a good net, and look forward to seeing you all next week. So JGKQ closing the BATC Thursday evening net and leaving the frequency clear for all takers. Good night.
GB is working. Why have I got no audio again? Ah, there we go. Right, and I went portable. I managed to get in very well from a fairly advantageous site, but with bare bones 15 homebrew 23 SEMS